so I wanted to go back to what Joe and the others were doing. It was about economic access all the time. The way we think about it is that if you have good food and it's sitting there and it's not affordable, it doesn't help the people that want to participate in the co-op. So it's not just about having good food, it's about making it affordable for people. Food, I guess, good food, part of it is the principle that people should have good food. You shouldn't, just because you maybe don't have economic access, have to have less than good food. So that was always a big part of it. So how did we do it? Well, we lowered the cost of food by replacing paid labor with sweat equity. That was the formula that we came up with. That's the way to if you want organic food or you want great local food, and you don't want to have a high price on it, you want everyone to have access, well, the only way to do it is replace the largest cost of running a grocery store, well, running any retail operation, which is your labor. So use the member owners to work, and that helps to drive down the cost. Okay, so here are our sort of financial basics. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the grocery industry in general. So the markup, meaning after we bought it, how much do we mark it up so the price appears on the shelf? Our markup is 21% over the cost of goods delivered, not wholesale. And this is a minor detail, but it's one of those details that I didn't realize was how important it was till I sat listening for years to our CFO talk about this to members. And then it really started to click. There's all sorts of added costs that other grocery stores or other retail outlets, they just mark up the goods high enough so that they just cover all those costs. They don't have to think about them. But when you work in a small margin industry like the grocery business, those little costs can erode your margin really easily. So, for example, you buy a case of cauliflower from the farmer, and the farmer says there's 26 heads in a case, right? Well, we just know over time from practice that probably there's 24, or there might be 23. Some are spoiled, some have been damaged on the way. Some are just a bad count. It's, so, and if it's organic, it's expensive when it first comes to you, so you don't want to mark up the goods high enough to make up for that cost. You want to be really honest about it with your members. So we say, okay, every case of organic produce that comes into the co-op, let's say the farmer says it's $20 a case. We say it's 21. That dollar that we add on to the cost of the goods delivered covers that spoilage, that waste, that miscounting. So we don't do it through making the markup higher. We do it from saying the base price we're marking up from is higher, slightly. And those little costs incredibly add up. So that's why we do it. We do it with ways that in the bulk aisle where we provide people, or we actually, I'll say cheese. Cheese is probably easier. We package most of our own cheese. We cut it up ourselves. We wrap it. We put a label on it. Well, that wrap and that label costs the co-op money. So we add a nickel to the price per pound of any cheese. Again, as member owners, we all expect that we have to cover our own costs. And then so it's the way of making sure that the co-op as an entity is not eating this cost and we're all equally sharing in it. I should say that the typical markup, well, I shouldn't say that because I don't really know. I know kind of vaguely, but if a markup is 21% over cost of goods delivered, for us, that generates a 17-cent gross margin. What does that mean? This is where the low prices come in. This is where I might lose you. But it means that we mark it up 21% in the hopes of getting a gross margin that's 17 cents on every dollar. So for everything we sell, we say, what the co-op retains 17 cents. This is where our low price formula is most noticeable. We had a meeting with with the purchasing manager of NCGA, this organization we're thinking of joining, and you know, he knows all about our pricing because we had to send him a bunch of documents, and he's like, oh gosh, you know, you're just amazing how you do this. And we said, now most co-ops, we share our information. Fortunately, most co-ops don't. They don't want you to know. And we said, well, he goes, you know, so we were talking about margin, and we said, well, what is, of a typical other co-op inside the NCGA, what's the gross margin? And I kind of knew, but I just wanted someone who really knew to tell me. And then he confirmed it for me. He said it's between 37 and 40%. So it's more than twice what we do. And that difference is achieved through member labor for us. So that means, because the markup would have to be anywhere between 65% and 100% in order to generate a whole store margin of 37 to 40. So something that we sell for $1.21 because we bought it and got it for $1, another co-op might sell it for $1.65. That difference is that 40 cents is really member labor. That's how we achieve it. Other co-ops need to have a gross margin between 37 and 40% because of their labor cost. Out of our 17-cent gross margin, 17 cents on a dollar, our paid labor is still our highest cost. 12 cents of that 17 cents will go to pay for payroll. So in a typical co-op, their payroll's about 25 or 26 cents. So of their 37 to 40 cents, 25 to 26 cents is going to be towards their paid labor. So what have our low prices done for us? Well, it's generated a high volume. We have a 6,000 square foot space of retail space. We sell, we had $49.4 million worth of sales last year, so we're actually higher than $8,000 per square foot. It's an extraordinary figure. It's probably the thing that most people fall off their chair about because Trader Joe's, I don't know if you all are familiar, Trader Joe's thinks they do a high volume and they do about $1,500 per square foot. Whole Foods thinks they do a high volume and they do about $950 per square foot. So we know we beat them all. And it's just not about that it's a figure you want to get. The thing about volume, there's two really good things about it. Volume means it's fresh. It doesn't stay on the shelf very long at all. It's the freshest food that our members talk about. It comes in, it goes out, it comes in, it goes out. We get delivery 6 days a week. We have to get delivery 6 days a week because we don't have a basement large enough to keep the food for a whole week. So the food is extremely fresh. The other thing is that when you reach a sales volume like this, well, there's two other things. One is it's a very efficient use of your space because your fixed costs of having 6,000 square feet are the same, no matter if you sell $150 per square foot or $8,000. Well, we're driving down our fixed costs per sales because our sales are so high. So that helps the operation in the overall financial sense. And the other thing is that when you have a high volume, you start to see that your vendors will give you better prices because you are a regular, very repeat customer with them and they reward you with better prices. The other thing that I think is, I don't know how this compares to anyone else, but we track sales per member. It's really important. It's an important metric to see where is it going. We hope it keeps up with inflation and the growth of the co-op. That's an average. I always say when we put this on the financial statement. I say, well, that's not me. I buy everything, and mine is a lot higher than $59 per week. I think it's just one of those important financial metrics that even now, Limerick should know about its members. Whoever is declaring themselves a co-op member, you should know how many there are, know what your sales are, and know how much it was. Hopefully track it per member so that you can just aggregate that and say our members are buying X amount. And you just kind of want to always see that grow. It's really important. While he's doing that,
seems to be frozen.
it seems to be frozen. Okay, so I'll just go on. The other thing I wanted to say is about the grocery business in general. It's not a huge profit-making business, to be honest. You know, Joe and I always talk about how basically maybe at the end of the day, your net earnings are a penny. You know, 1% of your overall cost is. So 1% out of $1, a penny, it's not much. Ours last year was actually 0.46, so a half of a cent. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But someone said to Joe once, we were talking about this, and someone said, well, and this I think goes to something Bill said, someone said to Joe, well, yeah, but you're so profitable, wouldn't you want to just do it like profit? And he said, well, what profit? Because we're still talking about a penny at the end of the day. If I own this individually or the co-op owns it. It's not, this is a very low margin, small margin business. It's not, if it's more than that, it's because the prices are too high, basically. And I think people would know that. And so we're not in, people always say, well, what about making profits over time? We had negative net earnings for most of the history of 41 years. We've had negative. It's only been the last maybe 6 or 7 years that we've actually had positive net earnings. But we're not concerned about net earnings because we've been sustainable. We've had patronage from our members. They're keeping it afloat. The cash flow is really positive. And what do we do with the earnings anyway? I mean, we all own it collectively. We don't have a patronage refund system because we deliver the lowest price on the shelf. So we're not in the business, so to speak, of getting earnings. Where would they go? I guess someone said, well, if you could give back earnings to people, and he said, we would give back between $2 and $10 a year with 16,000 people. It's not much. So it's the goal of the financial statement is to get the smallest markup to give you the margin you need. That's all you need to do, basically, because the members collectively own it. If they get the lowest price on the shelf, they don't need a check for $2 at the end of the year. That's insignificant to them. What they need is every time they come to shop, they're getting the lowest price. They don't, getting a $2 check at the end of the year might make you feel good, but it won't make a significant dent into how you think about, well, are the prices low or not.